Today is Spiritual Warfare Fridays. Welcome. So, we're going to speak about spiritual warfare, and I want to speak about it from the beginning. I want us to have a clear and concise understanding of what this is because it's very familiar to all of us, except that we don't identify it with our bare eyes. It's something more deeper from within. So, when we speak about spiritual warfare, we're going to start thinking about it as think about the seven virtues, right? The seven godly virtues. So for everything negative, for everything positive, there's a negative. For everything negative, there's a positive. So as we have the seven virtues, we also have the seven deadly sins, right? And so besides the deadly sins, there are other spirits, right? So for good spirits, there's bad spirits, right? And they're not visible to the naked eye. They are a fruit of what we possess from within, right? So in order for whether the good spirit or the bad spirit to gain root inside of us, we have to one granted access, and two, we have to have some type of seed inside of us that is willing to accept it and let it grow, whether good or bad, right? So when we think about spiritual warfare, it it's about spirits, right? And because they're not visible to the naked eye, let's think about the devil, right? The devil's not going to come up and show up with his horns and be like, "Hey, I'm the devil. Do you want to like sin?" No, the devil's going to come in looking hot. He's going to smell good. He's going to sound good. He's going to taste good, right? He's going to come in looking hot. And he's going to be deceitful, right? So it's not visible to the naked eye. That's why we have to have discernment, right? And use our intuition to be able to identify these things, right? But let's go back to how these spirits gain access to us. So we have it clear that for every negative there's a positive, and for every positive there's a negative. So the way that these entities work is that they are going to come in and either trigger like something that you have within you already that you have not healed or addressed or are not willing to heal or address, right? For example, there's like the spirit of lust, the spirit of sloth, the spirit of hate, jealousy, envy. These are all spirits. We don't see it in physical form, but we can see how a person can portray the spirits in them. And sometimes we ourselves are not aware that we possess them because we think that that's just the way that we operate, that we are deserving of certain things or we covet what other people have. And, this is a process. It's not something where, oh my God, I'm supposed to be perfect. Oh my God, no, that's not what this is. It's basically awareness. Because once we become aware, we're able to do something about it, or at least get into the path of doing something about it, or be able to identify it in others and know how to address it. Because, like I said, people carry these spirits and sometimes they don't even realize that they do. And depending on how wounded we are from within, it depends on how rooted these spirits are within us and how strong they can overtake us, right? So we were discussing that in order for them to gain access to us, we have to give it consent. We give it consent by giving it an emotional response, right? And this is how they feed. So, for example, if you have an abandonment wound, um, a person, most likely a person, because the spirit itself is not going to come in and be like, hey, I'm the spirit of abandonment. Would you like to suffer? No, it's going to come through like, a person. usually somebody close to you, somebody that you care about, somebody that has a grip inside of you already, such as family, friends, co-workers, people who are close to you who already possess this spirit are the ones that are going to trigger you, right? And the reason for that is because there has to be an emotional connection. You have to care in order for this to work. You have to physically care because they feed off your emotions, which is your energy. Okay. So somebody's going to come in and they're going to trigger a wound from within that is gonna cause you to give them an emotional response. This is how you give them permission. Okay? This is how they gain access. So now the spirit can feed off your energy, of your emotions, and as a result, they can latch onto you because they've created a bond without you realizing, right? So once they do this, now they've fed off your energy. You are depleted from your energy, and now you're left in confusion and pain and hurt or in chaos, right? But if you go ahead and you do not give the person that's trying to create this emotional response a reaction, then there is no latching point. So you're starving out the enemy, right? The purpose of this is to learn to starve them out. Because if we give them a reaction, if we engage into whatever they're doing, this is how you activate the entity within you. Because remember, for everything good, there's something bad, and we carry both of it inside. That's why there's a balance. So we don't give it access by staying grounded and not giving an emotional response, because this is how the entity that's inside that person feeds. And it could be with anything, you know, jealousy, hate, unforgiveness, resentment, all of that good stuff. These are like the little tiny things that we don't see on a daily basis. Like we see it on people, sometimes we see it in ourselves, but we don't think nothing much of it, right? But it starts with that. That is like the groundwork for it. In order for these spiritual attacks to happen at a deeper level, it begins there, very small, very subtle, very of like, well, I just said that it wasn't meant for you to get mad, but it's the access point, because by you giving emotion, you're giving them access. So you're giving them permission to latch onto you. And once they have that connection, then if they are people who practice dark arts, or are involved in like secret societies or whatever type of practices are out there that we're not so familiar to, this is how they are able to do this, because you have given them permission, you have given them an emotional response, and they've taken your energy. One way that you'll see that, like, the the results of it, like if somebody's trying to trigger you, and or to see you suffer, like they feed off seeing people suffer, right? Usually you'll see that when you're going through something, or while you're giving them that emotional response and you're hurt, they are going to have a sense of joy. They're going to be like, rejoicing in it, and you're just going to be able to see it, because they're diabolical, or the spirit in them has already consumed them to the point that they are becoming non-healable, if that's a word. Okay, we're gonna go to part two.